What's good with the YouTube? You already know Big Flacco with a convict's perspective on smashing, dashing, sliding on through with a little bit of energy, man. So hope everybody's enjoying their Sunday, man. Today's title, as you can tell, man, is about gang activity out there in New Mexico. The feds just basically hit a prison organization called the New Mexico Syndicate, as well as some Surenos that were from California, actually, that have set up shop out there. And as you're going to tell by this article, the Surenos and the New Mexico Syndicate have formed a relationship to take care of business out there. Very, very interesting article, man. So we're going to get to it. Hope you guys are enjoying your day. Enjoy this spill. Albuquerque, New Mexico. On Friday, the FBI and federal prosecutors revealed new details on extensive gang activity in Albuquerque, including murders and trafficking millions of dollars in drugs in the city. In a news conference in a federal court filing of more than 100 pages, prosecutors described an ongoing 7-year investigation into multiple gangs, which has led to dozens of arrests and truckloads of drugs taken off the street. The information came one day after a massive FBI-led raid involving 16 search warrants targeting gang activity led to agents making 5 arrests and taking hundreds of pounds in drugs in Albuquerque. On Friday, investigators revealed the main target of the recent raid, 40-year-old Jesse Young, who also goes by Lobo. He has 21 prior arrests in New Mexico and was on probation when agents took him in peacefully early Thursday morning. He's facing federal charges and decades in prison, the feds say. From Lobo alone, the task force took 1 million fentanyl pills, which is more than 200 pounds of the deadly drug. And they seized more than 140 pounds of meth. Investigators said the drugs probably didn't come from New Mexico, and they don't know exactly where it all would have ended up. Agents also took 37 guns from the home on Atrisco Drive and millions in cash. We hope, at least in the short run, that we see a reduction in crime, said FBI Special Agent Charge Raul Bujunda. We want to make sure our communities are staying safe. Federal prosecutors said this was the largest single bust in quite a while in Albuquerque. This is the largest I have seen since I have worked with law enforcement, U.S. Attorney Alexander Ubalez said. Many of the locations were in various South Valley neighborhoods. Special Agent Bujanda said people living near these houses are grateful. They don't have to fear anymore walking their children to school, he said. We're talking about distances that are less than a block long. Federal agents said the raid was a big hit to the 2 gangs they're focusing on. Gangs which they said have a decade-long history of murder, kidnapping, and pumping millions of dollars of drugs into the city. The Syndicato de Nuevo Mexico, a prison gang abbreviated SNM, and the Surenos, Spanish for Southerners, which started in Southern California. Federal court documents gave new insight into how they operated and what crime members may have committed, including recent murders and how extensive the operation is to combat them. In the documents, federal prosecutors said there are hundreds of active gang members in Albuquerque, and informants tell the FBI have killed multiple people. Gang members are plotting to murdering witnesses and informants. They bury evidence underground. They use stash houses and covert communications, and they coordinate actions with members in prison. The feds said this FBI-led investigation has been disrupting the gang's activity over the last 7 years, as hundreds of members in Albuquerque have been arrested and at least 11 local murders have been pinned on members. Plus, a plot to murder former State Secretary of Corrections Greg McCantle was thwarted in 2015. Investigators say they used 22 confidential informants who are all members of these gangs. They led investigators to go after 13 men Thursday who are all either gang members or associates themselves. Jesse Young, a.k.a. Lobo, Thomas Jaramillo, a.k.a. Casper, Edward Valles, a.k.a. Dopey, Joshua Lazoya, Rifo, Asenya Ladez, Boogie, and Omar Mazanilla, a.k.a. Sapo. Enrique Robo, a.k.a. Sleepy, Ernest Weddle, a.k.a. Earndog. The feds have tied at least 5 local murders in the last 2 years to these gangs. The most recent was August 7th when someone shot and killed a fellow gang member in an apartment. The feds think Young, a.k.a. Lobo, killed 2 brothers he believed were working with the feds, burning their bodies in a car on the West Mesa in 2012. Many of these suspects came from California because New Mexico was an easy place to live and be us, informants say. Gang members have said the land of enchantment has looser laws and a lower cost of living compared to the Golden State. The federal court documents show there is now a partnership between S&M and Surenos as they are working together to try and kill informants. The efforts are described as coordinated mutual interests and that have strengthened both groups in the past few years, man. So, yeah, this is kind of interesting, man. This syndicate, Syndicato Nuevo Mexico, man, they're treacherous organization, as everybody knows, man. They've had issues with the Barrio Aztecas, you know what I'm saying, based upon that border, you know what I'm saying, as far as control of the drug trade that's coming in. They've done some treacherous stuff. And everything from killing informants out there in the streets to even having hits out there on officers, man. They've had several indictments, man, but really little is known about their structure, their history, and whatnot, man. And from my understanding, man, sometime around the 80s, I believe, was really a big part of when things started to change. I don't know how long this organization has been officially around, but in the last 15, 20 years, man, they've really kind of picked up the pace as far as being recognized as an organization. Now, they're probably them and the Arizona MA are probably the strongest allies to the California MA. They all operate independently. People are gonna have a different opinion. They're gonna say that basically the California MA probably has a little bit more sway because of how deep of its members. But this organization, man, pretty much has has strengthened their presence out there in New Mexico, man. I mean, they're like one of the main organizations out there in the streets and prison to deal with. The other one also being Barrio Azteca, as I mentioned earlier, man, who are more in Tejas, but they're also in New Mexico as well. And that's been a battle that's been occurring for a long time, man. But these guys go by similar traits that other criminal organizations, man. Carnales and so forth, and blood in mantra and all that kind of stuff, man. And it's kind of interesting to see that the Surenos are starting to have a working relationship with them. I wonder how long that's going to last, guys, to be honest with you, man, because eventually someone's going to get upset about something. There's going to be some type of dictation or, some greediness or bad business dealing. I know out there in Arizona, there's Sureños out there, but a lot of times these Arizona cars want to do their own thing. They run those pintas, not no Cali car. And that's just how everything kind of operates and works. That's the one thing that has stuck out in this whole issue. And I don't know, maybe if that's, a relationship that they have with California. Because, there's a lot of stuff that's coming across that border that's kind of lucrative for other areas. You know what I'm saying? So you never know what kind of business transactions are really going on, man. But a lot of times, man, like, Texas, Arizona, they're not going to let any other car, the Hispanics are going to run the car except for the fucking people from AZ. I'm pretty sure New Mexico would probably operate around the same type of guidelines, man, because that's the number one thing that's going to cause dissension, and there is a lot of Norteños out there in New Mexico as well, though, man. So I don't know how that works in the Pinta. I don't really have too much information, man, but just the presence of two gangs like that are working together, what I'm saying? I wonder how that's going to evolve, A lot of terms they use out there, like in Tejas and, AZ, they use the word esquina. I don't know nothing about New Mexico. Maybe they use the same terminology. A esquina and like AZ and like, they're like basically like what you would call a sureño as a camarada. They have them also in Texas as well, but you have so many different organizations in Texas that it's kind of hard to keep track of who's who, what's what, you know what I mean? And, New Mexico's a lot smaller of a state, man, but there's a lot of activity out there. It's also turned into a liberal state. So that leaves open doors for a lot more criminal activities to occur out there, as people are not worried about catching certain sentences and time and whatnot because they have more lenient laws. And it's cheap to live out there, man. And the opportunities, man, to establish a transnational pipeline, it's right there. It's one of the things that could be a focal point. And that's always been SNM's main issue with Barrio Azteca was they're trying to have a fight to control who's working along the families. In the last year or two, I think they've arrested 114 members and associates, man. But they had a total of, like, I believe 30 informants during this investigation over the last 7 years, man. And, they had some powerful charges that were against some high-power stuff. Like, for instance, they were going to have the New Mexico's secretary to corrections. They were trying to have him hit, you know what I mean? They tried to have certain correction officers hit. These are all allegations, man, they were charged with several indictments on a recent RICO case, man. And so it seems like now the feds are starting to target them a little bit more. A lot of those indictments before were basically state, So This is, think about that, a 7-year investigation. That is a lot of intel and a lot of information they gathered, man. Now they've risen to about approximately 500 members, and like the history dates back to about when the riots occurred. You know, the big one in New Mexico around the early 80s is when this organization was formed. They have the agenda of establishing control of the narcotics trade, as far as everything coming across that border. They want to be in the mix. They want to know what's up. They want to have that control. Like any other organizations, man, they consider themselves basically like a mob. You know, every one of these organizations, they try to function with mob activity, you know, taxation, drug pushing, extortion. So, you know, it doesn't surprise me. You know, this is the lifestyle that many people live, and this is what to expect, man. And yeah, they're just like any other organization, but this group is very treacherous, man. Some of the charges I've read and convictions, man, this group is definitely one not to play with, man. Anyways, this is your boy Flacco, man. Convict's perspective, a little something different, man. A little bit of research. I don't really know too much details to talk about this organization, yet there's a lot of activity, a lot of stuff's going through them out there in Texas, man. Anyways, this is your boy Flacco, Convict's perspective. Please hit that like, subscribe, man. And I hope you guys all enjoyed Super Bowl Sunday, man. I think I'm going to drop something unique every Sunday, man. Something different, whether it's an interview or a video about a different group or a different story, man. Anyways, I'm gone. A rato. Have a good evening.